Happy Thursday, everybody. I apologize for all my technical misconstruement. We want to introduce you to a new family member that we have right here. She just knows that we're talking about her right now. This is Darcy. So can you give her a better angle there? Put her way up there. Make her stare at all the people. Go up all the way. Okay, can we do it? Here's Darcy.
Good morning. Dorothy says good morning. Here she is. Good morning.
Anyway, so this is our new puppy. We're very excited to have her, and it's so cool to have a new member of the family. We don't have enough people in our house, so that's the thing. So we're glad to have her. One thing we've noticed about Darcy, though.
Yeah, she's wonderful. We love her, and but she's kind of bonkers. She's all over the place in her thoughts. We're trying to do trainings and things like that, but you can call her, and halfway that she's running to you, she sees something interesting like a phone charger cord or something, and she goes to the left. And so she has a hard time with focus.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, when she goes to the bathroom, she's supposed to be focusing on going to the bathroom outside, but she eats a flower, and then she chases a butterfly, and then she chases a bug. And I think that is a good illustration of us sometimes in our spiritual walk. Yes, we lack focus a lot of times. So Romans 12:2 says, "Stop imitating the ideals and opinions of the culture around you, but be inwardly transformed by the Holy Spirit through a total reformation of how you think." So I'm going to read that again. Stop imitating the ideals and opinions of the culture around you, but be inwardly transformed by the Holy Spirit through a total reformation of how you think.
Yes, so the first part of that verse, stop imitating the ideals and opinions of the culture around you. That is something that I think that we can find is really tough to do because, I mean, our culture, we're in it, right? How do we get out of our culture and think differently? The field that I'm in, a big concept that we try to help our clients have is called mindfulness. And mindfulness is just a way of saying that you're aware of a pattern of thinking, but you just have awareness of what you're doing, what you're thinking, and what you're feeling. So I think that's a good place to start, is awareness, because when we have that awareness, then we can identify what's going on with us and how we're agreeing with our culture as compared to God.
Yeah, that's really well said. The second part of that verse is be inwardly transformed by the Holy Spirit. So it's not like, oh, I need to change the way I'm thinking. But you need to be mindful of it and aware of it so that you can change it. So when it comes to the time where you're like, oh, I recognize in my thought that I'm identifying more with the culture than what God says at this point. So that's where we depend upon the Holy Spirit to transform our mind through a reformation of how we think, a reformation. So a lot of times I found in my thinking that when I have a pattern of thinking that I naturally go to, and that's usually the culture around me, and then I have to catch myself and say, okay, is that what God is thinking? So Holy Spirit, I need you to reform my mind, transform my mind and my thinking in this area. One of the places that the culture speaks to us, well, every place, the culture speaks to us, and then it's different a lot of times from what God says.
Yes, one area that we have really been being transformed in over the last few weeks is in the area of finances. When we first got married 26 years ago, we, just kind of took our cues from the culture. We didn't decide, I'm going to take cues from the culture. We just did it. We just thought, well, in making our decisions and deciding how we feel and things like that, we kind of took the cues from media, our friends, just people around us, people that we knew, and we could always kind of justify decisions from something around us, like, well, everybody has debt, and you have to do this or that, you have to kind of keep up with the Joneses or whatever. So we took our cues in the area of finances from the culture around us, and so where we've come now is really becoming first aware of where we have done that in our lives, and then digging in and finding out what God says. A lot in the book of Proverbs. It's been really just blowing our mind how much God says about finances in the book of Proverbs. So we've begun to see what God says about finances, and he says something about finances which is just amazing, and it's just transformed our minds in that area.
Yeah, we can apply that to any area. So think about yourself. What does this culture say about yourself? Well, they say that the pressure's on. If it's to be, it's up to you. And so you have to determine your own destiny. And when we think about ourselves in light of what God says, God's thinking is overflow. He wants us to just draw into him, abide with him, and then he'll do the rest. So we get close to him, we be with him, and then we overflow. So it's not up to us. The pressure is not on us. The pressure is on God. We give it to God. Like others. The culture says that you have to be in competition with others. You have to have a club where you're the member and then everybody else is outside the club, and you judge whether or not that person's in or out. That's a competition mindset, and it's a cultural mindset of others. Whereas God says, love your neighbor as yourself. So that's another example, just to repattern your thinking and ask God to reform your thinking in those areas.
Yeah, and our circumstances, things that, trials and different things that we go through, which, we're all in a huge trial, like globally, in this huge situation. So our circumstances are not, there's nothing normal about this. And we are, there's a lot of place for people to get, afraid, to get worried, to get stressed. And that's not to minimize any of the things that are happening, because there are some things that are happening in our culture that, it's a correct response to have these strong emotions and to recognize this is going on, this is upsetting me, and that's okay that we get upset about. But God, when he transforms our mind, we don't stay in that place. We don't stay in that dark place. We don't stay in that worry. We identify, we say, oh, I'm feeling stressed about this, or I'm starting to be fearful, or I'm starting to be worried about this. And we go to God, and he is a place of rest. He is a place that we can trust him, and we cannot have fear. And so the circumstances that we all go through, we can go to him, and he gives us, by transforming our mind, he tells us the right way and shows us and transforms us in the right response to these challenging circumstances that we go through.
Yeah. So we want to just challenge you to focus on some things. We can't help but think culturally. It's our own natural thought pattern. A lot of times that's our first go-to. A lot of times is to think culturally. But what Julie said is to be aware of that, be mindful of that. And once you become mindful of that, then you allow the Holy Spirit to change your thinking. And just that can be a simple prayer. Holy Spirit, I don't think I'm thinking the right way here. Just transform my mind. Give me a new way of thinking according to what your view is. So allow the Holy Spirit to do that personally. And I would say that would be the importance of community. We are encouraging everyone to be a part of a missional community, a community where someone can challenge our thinking, because a lot of times we believe what we're thinking is right, and it takes someone else in the community to say, I don't know if that pattern is exactly what you want. Let's think differently. And so many times, I know you can probably think of times that you felt like you were completely convinced that your direction was the right one, and then you got in community and the voices around you said, this is what I believe the Lord wants for you. And then it's like, oh my gosh, my thinking has been transformed by the Holy Spirit, but the Holy Spirit used these other people in community to challenge me. So I want to read the rest of that Romans 12:2 verse. It says, stop imitating the ideals and opinions of the culture around you, but be inwardly transformed by the Holy Spirit through a total reformation of how you think. This will empower you to discern God's will as you live a beautiful life, satisfying and perfect in His eyes. So I want to challenge you just to let the Holy Spirit change your thinking where it needs to be changed, and in those areas. So we've been encouraging you to be, share, give, and go during this season. Be is to be with the Lord, just abide with Him. So take some time away, even if it's 15 or 20 minutes, just to sit quietly and see what the Holy Spirit would say to you. That's the be.
And share, we can share a lot through social media. Of course, you can share this devotional and our other devotionals. And we can also share in praying our prayers. We can share them. And a lot of you might know today's the National Day of Prayer. So it's a great day to pray for everyone in your life, to pray for our nation, our whole world. And, most people don't mind you praying for them if you ask.
Yep. And then to give, continue to give to Overflow Church as we're ministering to the needs around the world, and also to go. So to go and be that light, go and be that transformed way of thinking in somebody else's life that they might need today. So go and be with Him, and go and be a light. You got this, and He's got you. So from Darcy, again, from Darcy and the rest of the Thomas family, we love you guys. And blessings. Y'all have a great day.
Love you guys.